Hey guys, Silver Rails back with you again here for another PCGS grade reveal. I've only got four this time, but again, a little bit of a variety for you. So we'll jump right in here with one of the older coins I have in the collection. This is a 1806 draped bust quarter. I was a little concerned with this one because of this peculiar toning that it's got on there. You can see above the zero in the date there, a little bit of a spot toning. Turns out that the old flip that this thing was in for many years had a little hole in it, which actually created that little spot toning there. Now let's see if I can get this a little better focus here. There we go. And a couple little other little splotches and little gouge mark there under the L up there. But overall, not too bad. See on the reverse here. Once again, we've got a little bit of peculiar toning, but not too bad. The details are still pretty good shape. Now, I was assuming that this would, or I guessed at the grade at about an XF40. That's assuming it didn't come back with a environmental damage. When I ran this through the local coin shop owner, he gave it about a 50-50 shot that that it would come back with a legitimate grade. Fortunately, it did come back with an XF40 grade, so I was pretty pleased with that. So the 1806 drape bust, at that grade, it comes in around $2,000. It's a pretty fine piece. Moving on to the next one here, we've got a $2.50 Indian head gold piece. Now, trying to grade this particular coin is pretty difficult because of this in-cues engraving. So the grade is determined more by the condition of the field, unlike most coins. So I kind of struggled with this one, trying to guess what the grade would be. Now you see on the obverse, it's pretty clean. There's a few hairlines here and there. The reverse, also not too bad, but let's see if I can get the right angle. There's a few more hairlines in the yeah, there you go, right around the eagle's head. So I was kind of concerned with that one. I was hoping to get a mint state 60 on this one. I think if the reverse didn't have these hairlines in it, I think it would have been at least a mint state 60, maybe even a little higher. But I got that AU 58 on this one. Again, I'm sure it had to do with the reverse, because I think the obverse is at least a 61 or maybe 62. But those hairlines on the back, I think I think that knocked it down. But again, not really surprised with that AU 58. Even at that level, though, that's still coming in at about a $400 value. The value of these gold coins, I've noticed, seems to really fluctuate as the spot price in gold goes up and down. So we'll see what happens here in the future on that one. Next one here is the $5 Liberty head, 1904. Now this one here, as you can see, they're right kind of eye level. I've got a contact mark here. I was really concerned about that one. But other than that, the field is pretty good shape, pretty clean. Don't see too many hairlines or severe contact marks. On the reverse is even better. I mean, that's really sharp. Now this one here, I figured would get at least a 62. But I figured with that, if that contact mark there in the upper left wasn't there, I thought I might even get as high as 64. And I really lucked out on this one. I did get the mint state 64 grade on that. The coin shop owner looked at this, and he actually said that he thought that this was overgraded. I can't recall ever hearing anyone comment about having a PCGS slab coming back with an overgrade, but yeah, I'm not going to complain. At that level, at a mint state 64, that makes this about a $900 piece. Now, before I get to the last one here, I want to give you the backstory on this one. If you're watching this video, chances are pretty good you probably also dabble in a little bit of silver stacking. I do the same. My stacking of choice here is constitutional silver. I prefer that mainly because the premiums on this stuff aren't quite as crazy high as what you'll find, say, with Silver Eagles and whatnot. Plus, I like the history of it and so on and so forth. Now, when I get this stuff, I do take a look through it. I never expect to really find anything good. Now, if you're into the silver stacking, you've probably seen some of these videos from, say, Rob Finds Treasures. He's got a really interesting channel where he covers PCGS grade reveals, coin roll hunts, but my favorites of his are the ones where he's searching through his junk silver buys. And like even what he says on his videos, he doesn't really expect to find anything of any real value, and even if he does, it's usually just maybe a buck or two above melt. I run into the same thing. Recently, I have had a couple of interesting ones. I might find a Roosevelt dime that might still be in mint state form. So, again, not a big deal, but it might still be worth a buck or two over melt. So it's worth setting aside. A few months back, I did get one that was kind of interesting. It was a Barber quarter, a 1915S, which is actually a better date for the Barber series. As you can see, it's pretty well worn. Not worth getting graded, but the PCGS full retail value on this, they have it at $40. So let's be conservative. If gray sheet value, cut it in half to 20. This is probably no better than an AG3, so cut it in half to $10. Maybe $10 max, maybe $8. So it's only a couple bucks over melt value. So, but again, and as Rob says, hey, it's not in the greatest of shape, but hey, I'll take it. So, a few months back, I went to my LCS and I got $20 face of quarters and $10 face of dimes. Now, in the dimes, about 50 of them were Roosevelts, 50 of them Mercuries. As I recall, there was really nothing to speak of in either with the quarters or the Roosevelt dimes. I saved the Mercury dimes for last, and surprisingly, out of the 50 or so dimes that I got, almost every date in the series was represented, including several from the teens, including 3 from 1916. So I grabbed the first one off the pile from the 1916, flipped it over, expecting to see either no mint mark or an S mint mark. But I see this D. Now let me zoom in on that a little better here. Bear with me. Yeah. So my first thought was, well, that can't be right. I must have misread the date. It must be a 1918 or a 1919. Flip it back over. It's like, sorry guys, I'm not used to, yeah, there we go. 1916. So I flip it over. So I'm thinking, well, I must have misread the mint mark. It must be a messed up S or some funky toning. Looked at it again. I'm going, no, that's definitely a D. So needless to say, I spent about the next 30 seconds sitting there in shock looking at this thing. But the words from my LCS owner were ringing in my head. He had just told me a story about a month prior to me finding this, because I had asked him if he had one in the shop. And he says, no. He says, but, if you happen to find one, he says, you got to be really careful because there's a lot of counterfeits out there. And he says, especially in the region and the country where I live, he says there is a real prevalent amount of counterfeits out there. Evidently, he told me the story back in the late 70s. There was a guy in a little town about 30 miles up the road who was making a bunch of these counterfeits, and he even got a couple of local dealers to go in on the scam with him, and they were selling fake 1916Ds for legitimate 16D prices. He went on to say that either the Secret Service or the FBI eventually got wind of this, and they eventually caught the guy in some sort of sting operation. But the damage had been done, so a lot of these were out there. So, of course, my next thought was, well, this must be a fake. So I dropped everything, stopped everything I was doing, immediately went back online and reacquainted myself with how to detect if these are fake. And, of course, as most of you know, usually the dead giveaway is the D mint mark itself. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, well, now wait a minute. The serifs are right. The angle is right. It's pointing at the right spot in the leaf. And even the hole in the middle of the D is right. And there were no other telltale die marks that also sometimes can be a giveaway. So I took it back to the coin shop owner the next week and said, hey, let's send this off to get graded. And lo and behold, it did come back, as you can see, it did come back as legitimate. So I was really shocked to find one of these in the wild. Now, when it comes to guessing the grade, now it was pretty obvious this was going to be an AG3. The reverse is a little too worn to make it into a 4. Now, it's unfortunate that PCGS doesn't do the pluses or half scales, because I think this would actually grade at a AG 3.5 or 3 plus, because as you can see, that D mint mark is really good shape compared to other ones that you'll see in the AG3. In fact, this is even better than some that you'll see in a 4. But again, the edge of the rim on the reverse is just not that good at greatest shape, so that's going to knock it down. And sure enough, it did come back as AG03. So if you're watching this and you do like to search through constitutional silver, and Rob, hopefully this will serve as inspiration to you as well to keep searching through that stuff, because you never know. Every once in a while, a gem like this will slip through. Again, it was just an amazing find. I read somewhere that the mintage, of course, is around 240,000. It's estimated that only 10,000 are still in existence. Now, I seem to think that that's a little low, but to find one of these in the wild, as it were, I was completely stunned. So it was a heck of a find. Now, even at the AG3, these are auctioning off at about $650. I would say that was a pretty fantastic return on the investment, considering I only spent $2.40 for it, not counting the grading, of course. But so, yeah, again, happy hunting with the constitutional silver, because once in a while you will get a good one. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and next time I get some more of these done, we'll talk to you then. Thanks for watching.